Well, it seems that the alien psyop continues. And now we have former President Bill Clinton on the Jimmy Kimmel show. And he's talking about an alien threat that would bring the world together against a common enemy. And so again, we seem to see this theme of the world being brought together due to a common enemy. And who would that common enemy be? Well, anyone that's been paying attention and watching the previous videos and informing themselves knows that the common enemy is the divinity within mankind, which is soon to illuminate. And the plastic kings and queens are about to crumble with their fake plastic castles. And so they are preparing the collective mindset for the last act in their little play, because everything has been an illusion constructed by them to keep people only focused on the physical aspects of everything, the physical aspects of who they are. And now we have them starting to influence the collective mindset with this threat, this common threat. And this common threat is not going to be aliens. It's going to be their enemy and all that they exist to destroy. That is their only reason and motivation for existence, is to destroy all that is good and to destroy the divinity within mankind. However, they are frauds and they are just plastic kings and queens, and they only have the belief of their power. They have no real power. It is all an illusion. They really are like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. They only have a belief of power. However, the divine within mankind, the real kings and queens, well, they have truth. And so they don't need to actually use any illusions on the collective. So this is where these evil pieces of shit are going to come unstuck with their plan to basically fool the collective. However, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be fooled. So let's listen to what former President Bill Clinton, a very influential voice in the collective mindset, and this video and article is also published on Time, so this is definitely something that they want the flock to consciously ingest. So let's listen to what he has to say.
But if we were visited someday, I wouldn't be surprised. I just hope that it's not like Independence Day.
Yeah, right.
That it's a conflict.
Well, now we have friendly
Maybe the only way to unite this incredibly divided world of ours. They're out there. We better think of how all the differences among people on Earth would seem small if we felt threatened by a space invader. That's the whole theory of independence.
You're right.
Everybody gets together.
So we can see again this influence of an alien threat that brings the collective together, brings all the religions together. So I think that this is something that we definitely need to pay attention to when they are using such an influential person like Bill Clinton to be given his directives to start with this alien agenda. And they are now going to continue to slowly influence the collective mindset with this type of information, and then they will commence their shock and awe. And this is when they will play out their final little act. And so people need to pay attention to how they work. And I mean, this is an excellent book. You can actually download this free online. And one of the rules in the art of war is engage people with what they expect. It is what they are able to discern and confirms their projections. It settles them into predictable patterns of response, occupying their minds while you wait for the extraordinary moment, that which they cannot anticipate. So that is what the collective are continuing to be prepared for with all of this PSYOP now. And we also have the Variety website reporting on this article on the 31st of March about Pope Francis to usher in Vatican in 3D TV transmission at an unprecedented, well, it was unprecedented that he went to confession to confess his sins in front of everybody. It was unprecedented where in front of a group of people he confessed that he stole a rosary off a dead priest in his casket. I don't know how many more unprecedented things people need to see before we realise that we're not dealing with any pope. This is the Jesuit. And we are about to see this ceremony. They're being sainted. These two pieces of shit, John Paul II, this scumbag that they keep mummifying, and they have his blood in a vial and it's been stolen and it's still missing, and there's all of this mystery surrounding his blood in this vial. It's just absolutely sick, ritualistic bullshit that these people basically do in front of everybody, and the flock are blind to it, and that's because this is their magic. And so they appear to everyone to be loving and kind and only have the good of the all at, the whole reason that they are motivated, and the opposite is true. And this is how they hide in front of the collective. They dress as one of them, they act as one of them, and they give them saviours, and they are wolves in sheep's clothing, and pretty soon they are going to drop the sheep's clothing and the wolves are going to be revealed. I don't know if it's on the 27th, and I've done other videos about this date, and it's very interesting that it's at St. Peter's Square. And as I said, we're going to have this 3D presentation now, and it's all in partnership with Rupert Murdoch. And so this is going to be a huge event. I find that very interesting, and something else I think that we take note of. So I will definitely be watching the 3D TV transmission. And I have no idea, perhaps this will just be some further, programming or some other agenda. But to me, it just seems to be pointing to the same thing. So again, 27th of April seems to be Very interesting date for the Vatican for the Jesuit. Now, the other information that I did want to bring to you as well while I'm doing my project Bluebeam notes is that when Obama and Pope Francis actually were exchanging gifts, there was a bit more to the gift that Obama gave Pope Francis, because it wasn't reported in all of the articles that he actually gave him a seed chest. Now, the interesting thing about this seed chest is that it was made of something very special. It was made of American leather and wood, reclaimed from the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, one of the oldest Catholic cathedrals built in the United States. Well, I've done a little bit more research into the National Shrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now, this is all connected to the divine race and to the messiahs, the male and female messiahs, which are symbolically represented as Jesus and Mary Magdalene. However, that's just symbolic. It's all symbolic and it's all allegory. So we see that they seem to pay special attention to this national shrine. So I had a look at the national shrine. Basilica of the National Shrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I'm sure the location will yield a lot of very interesting information for anyone that wants to look into that area. But I was looking into some other information and I found some interesting facts about the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. To start with, it was the first Roman Catholic cathedral built in the United States, and the first major religious building constructed in the nation after the adoption of the US Constitution. Okay? Now, it has some other very interesting information connected to it when you start looking at who was actually represented there. And you will see that there are a particular number, and that being the number 12 and the number 8. When you actually look at all of the priests that were buried there were only 8, okay? And we see more very interesting numbers all through this information. And in fact, this information has actually given me even more information that could probably be a mystery teachings research notes, but I will actually combine this now to the project Bluebeam notes, because really, guys, it's the same thing. And if anyone's listening to this for the first time and they think I'm speaking some other language when I'm speaking about the divine race within mankind, and then connecting it to religion, but really having no respect for any religion because it's absolute crap and it's absolute bastardization of the truth of our story, then you really need to go and look at the information and the research that I've found due to decoding the information and connecting what they tried to destroy, which is basically the story of the divinity within mankind. And so if you are to have a real understanding for all of this information now, then you really need to go and inform yourself. And, you know, seeking information takes a person, takes a soul to apply themselves. And so there's no easy way. It's not just a matter of listening and consuming information like you've been programmed to consume information. And this is what a lot of people find is sometimes a block to being able to understand this information, because they come at it as though they're ready to just consume it and be told what to think. And this isn't the type of information for that. You have to have an understanding for several different areas before you can bring them all together and have a real understanding for everything that's been discussed here. And so that's what I'm doing now, and I'm really not going to hold back information because other people need to actually bring themselves up to a level of understanding about what we're finding here, because basically we're finding the biggest fuckover of mankind, and that is that they are all working together to fuck us over equally. And it's all culminating to some event, some agenda, and it seems to be this common theme of an enemy, alien, demon, fallen angel, reptilian, some enemy threat that isn't human and that brings everyone together, being all religions and all world government. And so it's going to definitely pay to do the research and inform yourself about what is basically about to occur. I have no absolute timing. I'm trying to look at what can give us some understanding of when that may be, and I can see certain dates seem to be more significant than others. Whether it will play out in a way that we know or understand, whether that's just going to be used as some other, step within their agenda to something else, I don't know. But I'm just bringing what I'm looking at and what I'm finding. And it's all pointing to the same thing. And so we look at the assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and what I'll do before I show you what I've found about this cathedral that's given me information that has told me that the number of the divine ones is actually larger than 96. There is a 96 within the divine that is the first footprint, like the first print of divine within mankind. The macroscopus, if you've looked at my videos before, you'll see Vitruvian man basically represents the first 96. But this information tells us that there are actually more. And this is because, as I've said, those that are created closest to the divine also have an illumination. It's not just the divine races. It's the others that are the first imprint of the divine race as well. And so I'll come back to that. But for now, I just want to show you about the Assumption of Mary and just give you an understanding for that. Now, the Assumption of Mary is basically what happens to Jesus as well. It's the same thing. If you look at the storyline, it's the same thing. 3 days and then she's resurrected. However, what they did was left it out of Scripture, and then everyone got upset about it, so they put it back in as dogma. And this all happened with this dude here, piece of scum, Pope Pius the 12th, okay? And so basically there's all these different stories, but the same thing is that Mary physically experiences a death and then goes up to the ethereal as a soul and then resurrects 3 days later. And interestingly, they also say that she is joined by Jesus when she goes up to the ethereal, that Jesus actually comes to her and they go together. And then 3 days later, they are resurrected. So interesting that this is connected to this seed box that Obama is giving Pope Francis. So this really just gives us how connected they really are and how their symbolism is so deep to what people are just seeing on the surface. People are just saying, oh, we gave him a seed box with some carrot seeds. Isn't that lovely? Okay, but you've got to look at what they do and how they speak to each other through the symbolism. Okay, it's their own language. Well, we're starting to learn that language. And so that's pretty much what the Assumption of Mary is. It's the same thing. It's this crucifixion that the divine male goes through, but because, as I've said in the research, the divine male carry their divinity within, okay, like the Ark of the Covenant, whereas it shows you that the female is the Holy Grail. Her divinity is carried around her, like it's not in the same way. So they experience this transformation, this whatever it is, this process of moving from the physical into a more ethereal state. They experience this differently, but also it's, relatively the same process. So now that we understand what the Assumption of Mary is, and we understand that the little seed box that he gave is connected to this basilica. This is the first ever Roman basilica built in the United States. As I said, look at the rest of the information when certain declarations were signed there, who signed them. This is a very important place. Well, I was looking at this and I saw that we had the 24 represented, okay? And then I saw that when I looked closer, each one of these had 12. And so I thought, well, there's another number code. They're showing that there's 24, and the 24 is the 24 divine ones. But now they're showing that there's these 12. So I had a look at what 12 times 24 is, and I got the number 288. So I had a look at the number 288 and I found something very interesting. Right, and their number with their brothers was 288. Since there were 24 rotating divisions, each consisting of 12 choristers, there were a total of 288 temple singers. The number 288 is of great significance Kabbalistically. As a result of the breaking of the vessels, 288 holy sparks fell into the realm of the unholy. Now, the unholy would be the physical, because the holy is the physical, the unholy is the physical. So it's not something to be seen in the negative. It's just the physical means that we are just, in a different state. And the church has taken it and corrupted it to mean evil. Now, even though it's not something we want to be in bondage to, as in not an understanding of our ethereal side and the, holy side, then that is why we can see it as something that can be viewed as negative. But it's not negative. It's just we are in the realm of the unholy because we are in the realm of matter, of physical. God lives in the realm of the holy, of the ethereal, okay? And so isn't it interesting? 288 holy sparks fell onto the realm of the unholy. This alluded to Genesis 1:2. And Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the depth. The first and last letters, Mi, Ra, Chi, Phi, S, spell out Mias, dead, while the sum of the numerical values of the three middle letters, Rish, Chet and Pe, is 288. If these holy sparks that vitalize the realm of the unholy to perform its assigned task in creation, these sparks are redeemed through the spread of God's chesed, loving kindness. That's the goddess. Or the female energy. This comes about through its successive revelation in each of the four basic expansions of the name. Oh, would that be the four races, the four creatures? Tribe of Dan, tribe of Reuben, tribe of Ephraim, tribe of Judah. So very interesting. And so it seems now that we have two more layers off the first 24 divine, the first tribe. So the first tribe in each, the first race of 24 have an additional now, a subsequent 48 divine ones attached as another layer, because this is how we've got to see it, and it's also the way you can look at the pyramid as it layers out. And so now we have 288 that are to illuminate. So I find that interesting. So if anyone else wants to give me more information on the number 288 or what they can find in that, but I have enough information now to see this for what it is. You know, I don't need to be continually shown more and more and more of the same thing over and over again. You know, I only just need to see it once, consciously process it, put it where it should, and put it together with the other pieces, connect them all and make our story more clear. Because that's what's happening, guys. We're just making our story clearer and clearer and clearer. We're moving each layer of the symbolism. We're removing it and seeing what's underneath. We're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the layers. So we're not just stuck on one level looking at the same thing over and over again. We're moving in and seeing what this is all actually relating to. And so it's quite good now knowing that there are 288 within the divine race of mankind, it seems, if we take this basilica information of what they're giving us, and it's repeated here as well. Okay, I can see it repeated again. And I just know the more I look, the more I will find this 72 and this 288. And so this is now expanded, the divinity within mankind that is the common threat against these fuckers, okay? And why these fuckers are all coming out now and saying all of this bullshit about these aliens, because they are shitting themselves, because they are only false kings and queens. They're just fake. And they've got nothing to back them up, as I said, except their illusions, and who knows what we're going to see on the 27th with the Vatican, what they're going to put on display. You know, we're just going to see a bunch of boring old farts do their ritualistic shit in front of everybody while behind their backs they're really just laughing at everybody. Or are we going to see them use this for some agenda? Well, I suppose we are in the month to find out, guys, because it's already been very intense so far. And as we can see, it's not letting up. So I'm going to post all of the information underneath. And as always, peace out.